The most important person in the whole wide world is you, and you hardly even know you. The most important person in the whole wide world is you. Come on, we'll show you. Let's find out more about the things you feel and do, 'cause you're the most important person in the world to you.
Hello, 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 and welcome to One4ALLisLove with Sonya Spirit, and I am Sonya Spirit. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day. Today is April 29th, 2020, and it is a interesting day here in Georgia. It's been a little rainy. Now it's kind of clear. So, anyway, but it's a beautiful day nonetheless. So the title of this episode is What in the World is Going On? And, of course, this is not really a new topic. We've been experiencing this for several weeks now about what in the world is going on. But I kind of wanted to talk about perspective here a little bit, or the law of polarity, give it some more clarification. But it's relevant, it's germane to the topic, what in the world is going on. So, I was thinking, as usual, and I was thinking about, with the exception of a handful of people devoting their lives to spirituality or, like a dedicated worship like monks, who just, that's their lifestyle. Most of us basically have been experiencing a physical existence with spirituality sprinkled in. Now, if you say, oh, no, that's not me, that's fine. This doesn't pertain to you. But for many of us, whether it was out of ignorance or belief system or just refusing to walk the line, which I find that difficult to believe. But anyway, most of us have been living a physical life with spirituality sprinkled in, spiritual aha moments, awakenings. Okay, I would say that is probably a lot of us. Okay, perhaps maybe a majority. Forgive me if I'm incorrect. But anyway, I'm speculating here. Now, since our global pandemic, which the first case was reported, of course, in November of 2019, I think it was November 15th, 17th, somewhere around there. And then the second case, but it was in the same region, the Wuhan, China region. And then the second case was in December of 2019. And then, of course, in January, the gates flood open with the spread of coronavirus. But my point is this. So now it seems since the coronavirus has us in its grips, there has been a shift in perspective. And I'm sure not for most people, but for many, let's say for many people, there's been a shift in perspective. And the shift is more so where the focus or attention is now on actually the spiritual being, the spiritual self, the soul, the one that is connected with the source, the absolute source, the divine one, all, God, whatever name you choose. And now physical experiences, of course, are being sprinkled in. And it just seems like it just kind of, flopped real quickly. And the reason I say that is because with the stay in place and with the economy being basically on lockdown as well, many of us are scrambling, okay, out of fear, stress, worry, doubt, lack. We're scrambling with this new reality, okay? And the reason why our spiritual self, our spiritual being has become so much more significant is usually it's when in situations of peril, demise, adversity, challenges, do we seek God. If we think we can handle it on our own, hey, we're going to handle it on our own. But when we feel like we are, outside of our jurisdiction, or when we actually acknowledge, maybe our limitations or whatever, then we reach out to God. Many of us pray, meditate, call it whatever you want to, okay? Petition, that's what we normally do, okay? In general, speaking in general. If this doesn't apply to you, then okay. So that's what we normally do. We reach out as though we are reaching out to some external force, when in actuality what we're doing is we're really digging in more so than reaching out, which is, of course, why we close our eyes, is so we're not distracted by anything physical, anything outside of ourselves, because the energy that we are trying to tap, the power that we are trying to align ourselves with is internal, okay? So it appears that the pendulum has swung. Now, this is not a pendulum that swings quickly by any stretch of the imagination, because as far as I've been alive, to the best of my knowledge, and that's not saying a whole lot, so let me preface that. I have perceived myself as a physical being in a physical world. It's probably within the last 5, 8 years, maybe 10, that I've perceived myself otherwise. Okay. I knew I had consciousness power, but I didn't really perceive myself as a conscious being with an outfit on that looks like me, is basically what I'm saying. Okay, so this is what the law of polarity is all about. It's about purposely shifting your perspective. So we're at a point now where whether or not you've shifted your perspective from the physical to the spiritual realm, or you recognize that you need to be making that shift, now is the time. Everything, I say it all the time. I've been saying it for the past 8.5 months. There are no coincidences. There are no happenstances. There are no accidents. There are no randomness. Okay, now, just because we don't foresee something coming doesn't mean that it's random, it's an accident, it's a fluke. I don't believe in any of that. Everything serves a purpose, okay? And now, so the law of polarity basically says that there is a duality in everything. Everything has at least two sides, okay? And probably a finite number of degrees in between. But anyway. And so what I've been talking about a lot since this whole global pandemic popped off, I guess when the U.S. began taking it seriously, which was last month in March, is that there are ways of seeing things. There are different perspectives, okay? Now, truthfully, most of us see things one way, our way, okay? And if that is your experience, that is a very limited way of thinking, okay? And you're doing yourself a disservice. However, it is also your responsibility to pull yourself out of it. Okay, you have to recognize that, I am this way. I don't like this about myself. I am going to make the change, okay? And these are things that you can work on yourself. Now, you can continue to make excuses, and that's between you and your God, because the only person you are hurting is yourself, okay? If you're telling other people about your changes, then generally you aren't serious about them, okay? Because you're making announcements, spirituality is an intimate relationship. You and God, it doesn't get any more intimate than being inside you, okay? Like a birth with a child or transforming the energy to form a child. It doesn't get any more intimate than being inside you. God is inside you. God is inside me. God is inside all of us. Okay. And we'll revisit that a little later on. So the polarity of the situation is we can look at the coronavirus and say doom and gloom. Okay, people are getting sick. It's running rampant. People are dying at elevated levels or high levels, high risks. Social distancing, you don't want it to spread, so we have shut down basically the economy. People must stay at home. How am I going to pay my bills? Because this goes from global to local very quickly, okay? And the local is personal, okay? The global is there's a virus. It's all over the world. It's spreading like wildfire. It's killing many folks in its wake. It doesn't discriminate in terms of geography, and it's the worst in the U.S. Okay, and our economy is collapsing. I have no idea how I'm going to pay my bills in this country that puts money over life. Okay, that's one aspect. I'm not saying it's not real. It's a very real aspect. It's just not the one you want to entertain in your mind for a long duration of time. And you have that power, okay? So I've been receiving messages, and the message is it's time for us to start moving forward a little bit quicker than I've been moving, I guess. And what do I mean by that? Is I'm going to be sprinkling in, about the laws and how they work. But I guess it's time for us to start moving forward. So it's no more about teaching affirmations or, the presumption is at this stage of the game, you should have a routine or daily meditation, prayer, silence, spirituality practice. Okay? If you don't and you need help developing one, feel free to email me. At One4ALLisLove@gmail.com, and I'm the only person who reads the mail, so but you can address it to Sonya Spirit. So moving forward, I'm going to presume that you already have in your toolkit your meditations, okay? What all of your spiritual rituals that help you connect and align in the morning, that open yourself up to harmonize with the source, to guide the way of your unfolding day. And now we're going to start, really trying to move forward with things that we can be doing to help ourselves, either correcting or restoring some energies that are not for our betterment, or just creating and moving forward. Okay. All right, so law of polarity is about duality, okay? It's about there's two sides to everything. And with the duality, of course, we've discussed the law of polarity. So there's nothing really magical about the law of polarity. And, in fact, most of us already understand the concept because it just tells us that there's duality in everything. There cannot be a positive without a negative, an up without a down, a good without a bad, a dark without light. So we get this. So then why is it that we focus our thinking on one polarity? Why do we focus on the negative, the bad, the sad, the downright annoying, when we can switch our thinking to the alternative? We can switch it to positive. Remember, okay, like I said, this is full steam ahead. So remember, our thoughts become things. Whatever we continue to entertain in our mind over if whether or not we believe it or not, habitually becomes ingrained into our subconscious, into our spirit, into our soul. Okay? So that's why, we've been conditioned to see the negative, but we can easily retrain ourselves to see the positive. And it's really not even a massive undertaking. Recognize, identify that you see things one way, that you have a limited scope, most of us. Now, if you are the type of person who puts yourself in other people's shoes, who tries to perceive and experience from someone else's perspective, great. I'm not talking to you. We're talking about everyone else who's dig their heels in and are stuck in their ways, who think that in any situation that they are right. Now, I'm not saying that they're not right. What I'm saying is that's not the point. This is not what that is about. It's about being able to see experiences from different perspectives, okay? And the reason that's critical is because you want to be able to practice that so that when the time comes, you will be able to exercise it or implement it at will and successfully, okay, to change the way you think and feel, the way you process information through a negative filter or a fearful filter, a doubtful filter, whatever that filter is. First, we have to recognize that we see things that way. And then we have to correct it. Now, you can seek help professionally outside of yourself. You can seek help within yourself because, listen, God and spirit guides are always ready, willing, and able to work with us. However, it is our responsibility to reach out to them for help. Okay? Now, sometimes they might come in and swoop and save you, but don't come to expect that. So that's all I'm saying. So the law of polarity is about shifting the way you think. And we've had this discussion on a different level when we talked about quantum physics and quantum outcomes. When I was discussing like cause and effect. The cause aspect is a creative component, and we have that ability, that power that we have inherited from God when we were made. It's inherent, not so much inherited. Inherent is even better. So anyway, so we have this power, this capability of changing our minds, quantum physics. So that creative component, the cause, that's the dynamic aspect, okay? Because there are infinite outcomes to any situation, okay? Now, they may not all be an option to us because, once again, we limit ourselves in the way we think. When we think of outcomes, oftentimes we think of resources that we think are available to us. And when I say available to us, I mean to the finite physical self. So we only think that we have what is within our reach of power on a physical level, which is quite the opposite on a non-physical or spiritual level, or for some folks, they say the formative level, but I'm trying to keep this simple. So on the spiritual level, we are limitless. Our mind is infinite. Only we don't know it because we are constrained by our conscious, the conditioning of our conscious, the way we think. And it's not just, it's a composite of everything. So, it's not just the family that you grew up in, because you'll always meet somebody who fought the odds, okay? Was it Reginald Lewis fought the odds? And why should white guys have all the fun? So you'll always find situations like that where, someone fight, but it's an accumulation of everything, your home, your school, outside experiences, your perception of yourself. And like a lot of, and also programs that are already instilled in your soul from previous incarnations. Okay? But let's not get caught up in that. Let's get back to the simplicity of the law of polarity. But okay, so we have the dynamic component, as I was talking about with cause and effect. The dynamic component is the ability to create. And then the process component, okay, which is the system, the process by which something works, the mechanics of it. That is the effect. That's the physical manifestation. So the cause is whatever we can imagine, dream, think, conjure, conceptualize, ideate, whatever word you want to use in terms of creativity is concerned. And then and it goes from there as long as there's no resistance. We talked about that, and we'll talk about it some more. As long as there's no resistance, then it will come to fruition. And some things are simple that you can produce yourself, and some things are so complex that it will take a team or an army of people to help launch the project as well as sustain it. Okay, so what I'm saying is there's nothing that is too big or too small for the mind to manifest. And when I say the mind in terms of a human being, I am combining the mind and the heart, because as we know, the heart is the one that attracts the energy necessary to transform into manifestation, physical manifestation. Okay, so when I say the mind, it's the unit, it's the alignment of the heart and the head. And the only reason the mind gets a lot more credit is just because it's usually attached to the ego. But we don't want to identify ourselves with the ego or just the mind or just a physical being. That's what we have to snap out of, okay? And that is your job, that is your responsibility. And affirmations, prayers, meditations, silence, reading, yoga, walking through nature, planting a garden, whatever works for you, that in which you commune with nature. I'm not going to say one thing because one thing doesn't work for everyone, okay? And there is no one path. You know, one person can reach enlightenment totally different from someone else. You get it. All right, so let's continue. So we all have an individual responsibility to occupy our own mind. Now, right now, we really want to get as much crap from the past out of the way. We want to let go of that baggage. Think of the hot air balloon. In order to elevate, in order to rise, in order to continue to ascend, you have to drop the bags of sanded weight. You have to drop the weight, okay? And personally, we have to do this to ourselves because, and that's what the forgiveness episodes were all about. We're not going to keep harping on forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself and everyone else. Put it behind you. I'm not saying ignore it. I'm not saying get over it, but you have to come to terms with it, reconcile it, okay? Everything, once again, serves a purpose. So whatever adversity that's centered around this unforgiveness needs to be addressed. Now, you can seek professional help. You can seek spiritual counseling. That may involve, professional help. Or it may be as easy as just speaking to your spiritual counselor or guide, or just speaking to a friend who you know has very good judgment, sound judgment, okay, someone whose judgment that you trust, okay? Not to say that they're going to be a professional healer, but it just depends on what your situation is what I'm saying. Okay, so we have that going. It is our responsibility. Oh, let's see who we have here. We have us a caller. Hello, caller. Welcome to One for All is Love with Sonya Spirit. And to whom am I speaking
I'm
with?
just listening.
Okay, you just listen. All right, I'll
work.
let you listen. Okay,
Thank
yes,
you.
ma'am.
I'm at
Okay.
work. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, okay. All right, so we will continue. So getting back to we're responsible for our own, of occupying our own mind. So think about this. Prior to the coronavirus, most of us had a routine, okay? We either went to work first shift, second shift, third shift, or it was our job to look for a job. But at any rate, we had a routine, okay? And this routine pretty much occupied most of our mind, okay? Going to work, dealing with that for 8 to 10 hours, the traffic if there's a commute, family when you get home, go to sleep, and start over again, okay? So a lot of your mind has already been filled for you prior to the coronavirus, okay? Now, I'm not saying this applies to everyone, but for those that it does speak to. So your mind was already occupied, but it wasn't occupied with anything that truthfully you want. Because if it was, you would be doing things that you want to do. You would be pursuing your passions. First of all, you probably have already identified your passions. Okay, you will have identified your passions and you would be pursuing your passions. And chances are you wouldn't be listening to this podcast because your focus, all of your energy would be focused on basically birthing your project, okay, whatever your focus is, whatever your passion is. So I'm not knocking you if you listen, because that just means, listen, we got some work to do, and I'm one of them. But what I'm saying is everybody's not at that level. Some people already recognize what their passions are, and their mind is already consumed with it, and they already have a very strong, probably spiritual relationship. And I'm not saying it's necessarily healthy, but there's a lot of communication because what they want is driving them. And when we think about people that we consider or classify as geniuses, mathematics was driving them. The unknown was driving them in science and in math and in engineering, okay? That passion drives you to discover. Because remember, there's nothing new under the sun. So there is no real inventions. There's just discoveries, and you discover how to assemble something. But, if you want to take their credit and say you invented something, that's all well and good. But just recognize that wanting to have credit or receiving credit is a component or functionality of the ego. And that's what we are moving away from. And so having that type of behavior in a corporate workplace is really counterintuitive because I'm not saying all, but most workplaces, even with teams, they are competitive. So people are very competitive in a workplace. And even when they have teams, oftentimes teams are pitted against each other to be competitive, okay? But we won't belabor that point. Okay, so it is our responsibility to occupy our mind. Now that we're on this side of the coronavirus and we have a lot of time for those who are not working from home and for those who are just not working, period. This is an opportunity. This is the law of polarity. Instead of seeing this as whatever we could possibly see it as, which is a conspiracy, which is the end of the world, which is the beginning of the New World Order, which is the second coming of Christ, whatever, however you want to perceive it, that is just one perception. So recognize that. There are other perceptions. Remember, there is a blessing, okay? There's a blessing in disguise. And the thing about it is it's not a disguise. The blessing is not in disguise. It's only disguised if you can only see things one way, if you are filtered, if you are blinded to only perceive things through one funnel, one tunnel, one way, one filter. It limits your focus. Now, and this is the duality of things, even the duality of focus. Focus is great when you're trying to accomplish something, Okay? It can be extremely detrimental when you can't rise above a situation. So what do I mean by that? Just to add some clarity to it. Focus is great when you're following your passion because you are wide open. You are open. You are receptive to attract and create. Okay? The energy is flowing through you. You almost don't have control over it. Okay? The flip side with focus is if you are stuck at worry, if you are focused on the negative aspect of the experience, okay, if you are focused on not having enough money, if you are fixated on, bills being overdue, not having a job, May's rent is almost due. It just seemed like April's rent was due. It seems like time is going faster, even though we don't have as much occupying the time. Isn't that interesting? Okay, before it seems like time was going much faster, even though we were working every day. It was like zoom, 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 zoom. Well, we're not working. We're not shopping. We're not spending. And time still seems to be flying, even more so now. Okay, and if you're fixated on what you don't have, of course, May seems like it was just April 1st. Now it's May 1st. May 1st is what, Friday? So, okay, these are the things that you have to take in, and I'm only belaboring all of this because it's important that you understand the responsibility of occupying or filling your mind with the proper thoughts. Okay, so think of this. We are kind of like, we being most humans, are kind of like domesticated animals. A dog, a cat, a bird, even, the Tiger King? They have these captured, domesticated tigers. They become accustomed to being fed. Okay? They don't hunt. They're not shrewd. They're not trying to outwit some unsuspecting prey. Domesticated animals are accustomed to being fed, pet, groomed, walked, being left alone. Okay, so when I say we are domesticated animals, we are domesticated animals to the extent that we don't think. We don't think. It's been done for us. The Bible said, hey, you got to go to work. And so we go to work every day. We work 40 hours a week or whatever it is. So we go to work 5 days out the week, or however often that you work, whatever your schedule is. And we have routines and patterns that do not require any thought. We get up, we get dressed, that's a routine. Before the coronavirus, we would get dressed, we would go to work, that's a routine. We'd spend a great chunk of our day being away from people that we love, in support of the people that we love. Spend a great chunk of our day away, and we're just thinking about whatever it is, whatever work consists of. Then we return home. We deal with our family for a little bit of time, 2 to 3 hours tops. And then we start the routine all over again. When do we think? It was a comedian. He's dead now. But anyway, George Carl. He was like, you don't have choices. You just think you have choices. You're not making any decisions because, truthfully, we're not really thinking. We're reacting. We're not even responding. We're reacting. We're conditioned and we're reacting. Okay, so the first thing is be accountable for your own mind. Okay? Understand that there is more than one way to look at something. Okay? Now, so here's an example. Here's something to practice. Just try. 5 minutes, whatever. So, like for 5 minutes, think with your heart. It's along the lines of heart-to-head harmony, but think with your heart. Sit still for 5 minutes, but it's got to be 5 minutes that you know will be uninterrupted, because you have to focus your energy on just really feeling your heart, but also relaxing and being calm. Okay, so even though the thoughts are with the heart, it's not when I say focus your energy, it's not something you're forcing. It's more of a relaxed method. But anyway, so relax, lay your hand over your heart if that makes you feel good, but just to cease all external programming and conditions. So in meditation or silence, close your eyes, lay your left hand over your heart, your right hand over your left hand if you so choose. Feel your heart and feel its beat. Pulsate throughout your body. Think not, just feel. Feel its beat, its pulse. Rise to your head. Feel the beauty of being. What does it feel like to just be? Be alive and just be. So imagine the beauty of being. What do you see? What images does your mind eye? So, what that does is it brings a oneness. It brings a oneness. It's really a part of the head-to-heart harmony or meditation. But you want to slow everything down. And you have to clear your mind. Now, if you're struggling with clearing your mind, like I said, if you can imagine using images, that is great. But if you find your mind keeps going back to things that you do not want to think of, like I said, money, lack, job, fear of the virus, fear of, car being repossessed, utilities being turned off, then you have to have your affirmations, or like I used to say a long time ago, your go-to words, okay? And your go-to words over time energizes you. You have to practice it, though. You have to practice it. You have to practice saying it so that you can feel it. So because these words have energy. All words have energy, okay? And when you think of the word faith, you should think of strength. You should think of confidence, knowing. Faith is much, and if you're not at the faith stage, then let's roll with belief, okay? But faith is one of my go-to words. Harmony is one of my go-to words. Like I said, faith is my strength, is my rock, because I know that it's part of knowing who you are, and it's knowing that what God is and what is represented inside of you, okay? That's why it's imperative that you know yourself, because as you discover yourself, as you are getting to know yourself, you know how powerful you are, okay, and how capable you are, and your confidence grows, okay. But confidence is not enough. Confidence is great. Confidence will get you through the difficult times. So don't get it twisted. Confidence, faith, strength, courage, all of that is great, okay? That is great because it will get you through the difficult times. Harmony is just knowing that nature flows as intended, okay? So there is nature, there is harmony. Harmony is nature, is God's movement. That's what I call it. Harmony is God's perfect movement. So even though there are infinitesimal, if that's such a word, variables in manifesting something, God is perfect harmony, perfect blend. God makes no mistakes. Okay? And we are a part of that flow. We create our own resistance. We are part of nature. We are part of God's flow, God's harmony, God's music, God's movement, God's melody, whatever you want to call it. We are a part of it. We are a creation of God. We are a part of God's nature, okay? We are a part of nature. So whenever something arises that is unnatural, it is our resistance, whether it is a spontaneous or voluntary resistance, or whether it is some conditioned or programmed resistance. But resistance is unnatural to the flow, to the harmonious flow of the flow of God. So when harmony, or when we experience disharmony, when harmony is disturbed, disharmony, then there is a restoration of harmony. Now, of course, one perspective is that the restoration of harmony is karma, or punishment by God. That's not it. If there is a resistance, if there is if there's some sort of resistance to the flow of harmony, then there has to be a misunderstanding. Just think about it. There has to be a misunderstanding. So if there's a misunderstanding, then the universe is going to provide you with an experience to help you understand. And if you catch on, great. You learn your lesson, you move on, and you're introduced to more advanced lessons. If you don't catch on, you will have this experience again with other people, with other parties. But the experience, the concept will be the same until you do catch on. Okay, so that's the law of polarity. Let's change the way we perceive life. Okay, so let's see, what else do we have here? So change is not hard. The Spirit of God is change, and each one of us are unique, and yet no one is special. There are no chosen people, just ancient principles and adopted practices. So, I say that because most people don't understand that, of course, the Old Testament was written by Jews for Jews. Okay. Well, I suspect the whole Bible was written by Jews for Jews. Otherwise, you wouldn't refer to everyone else as Gentiles. But anyway, so that's what I mean by ancient principles and adopted practices. There are no chosen people. Now, if I want you to feel a certain type of way, if I'm looking to raise your confidence, instill some self-esteem, then yes, I'm inclined to tell you that you are special, because this is human to human. Now, remember, God didn't author this book, and I'm not knocking the Bible. Listen, believe me, there is wisdom beyond belief in the Bible, and I'm uncovering new discoveries every day. So I definitely think it's a treasure trove of truth. However, I just, we just need to accept what it is, okay? So, and don't get caught up in the trappings. So know thyself. Understand that you are more than your physical body, okay? I am a spirit having an individuated physical experience, which is an incarnation. I am a soul, which is an individuated spirit having a physical experience, i.e. an incarnation. We are all from one source. We are all from God. Knowing thyself entails knowing God is in us or is in me. Knowing God is me. Knowing God works through me. I am God's action figure. These are my notes, and I got a little smiley face next to it. Because that's what it is. God is the dancer, and I am the dance. I am God's expression. By submitting my individual will, I permit God to express through me. I must invite God through submission to express through me. Okay? You know, we're so quick to say, where is God, and blah, blah, blah. Well, where is God now? You know, where is God when such and such happened? Did you invite God when such and such happened? No. Okay? But again, that's misconception, misunderstanding, insecurity, ignorance, and there's just a lot you have to kind of filter through with that. But first, I've said this before, we have to unify ourselves, get our heart and head in order, head to heart harmony, okay? Embody faith, embody harmony, restoration. Restoration is not punishment. Restoration is not vengeance, okay? Embody love, embody truth, embody wisdom. And wisdom, I have defined in my mind, is right understanding and right application. So it's kind of a twofold word, or a two-function word. So yeah, right understanding and right application. I wrote notes wishing. I wish not to belabor the criticism of the economy as it perpetuates a negative aspect of our current situation. So, not to dwell on the economy, but there is opportunity. So, if you see an opportunity and you don't want to, act on it, share the thought. Someone else will act on it. You can just say it aloud, put it out in the ether. But there are opportunities. I mean, even from a financial standpoint, like the markets, there are plenty of like healthcare. All the healthcare, most of those stocks are going up. Okay, oil is going down just because there's a surplus now. But mind you, all of this ties into Mother Nature, the planet. Remember, the planet is alive, the ecosystem. It's not about just capitalism or economics. Okay, it's about the ecosystem. It's about the biosphere. Moving forward, we can look at things historically and make corrections, or we can see, visualize, imagine from the present forward and create. So there are many different ways to approach something. Some people can see a problem and fix it, okay? And that may create some new technology or ingenuity or invention or discovery. And some people can just see how things should be differently. But usually it starts with a question or a problem, at least from a scientific perspective. But that's not always the case, because if you think of the creative types, the musicians, the painters, the sculptors, they're not necessarily starting with the problem. They're just starting with a blank canvas, which reminds me of another exercise. So the exercise, I'm sure plenty of people are already doing this, but now that we have the time, it's a great opportunity. So after you perform your daily meditation or spiritual practice, whatever that is, then what you want to do is spend So after you do your routine, create an environment. Create an environment. Make it conducive to your comfort level. Okay, so where am I going with this? Okay, so for meditating practitioners, perform your daily meditation activity and however long it takes. If you use, 20 minutes, some people use an hour, whatever it is, whatever the duration. And immediately afterwards, or as soon as you will, either sit in front of your keyboard, your pen and pad, your musical instrument, your blank canvas, your unformed raw material, your recording device, mirror, or whatever creative medium you can imagine or will imagine, and build a temporary environment around it, whatever works for you. So if you want music, if you wish, then select some music. Candles, if you wish. Fragrances, if you wish. Candles and fragrances may be the same thing, if you wish. Lighting and temperature to your comfort level. And anything else which will cause and or hold harmonies and creative energies. Okay? And then kind of like when I was talking about before about the thinking with your heart. Okay? Excuse me. So thinking with your heart. So right about like after meditation, we are so wide open. Our heart, our head, that conduit, if you can imagine, if you will, that stream of white light that descends from on high, moves through your head, moves through your claustrum, down your pineal or pineal, okay, and pituitary, so to speak, but moving that energy moving down through the spine to the heart, okay, so we are wide open, and that is a great time to capitalize off that energy. The energy is flowing all around us and through us. And get in front of whatever it is that you will use to create, and just allow it to flow out of you or rush out of you, however, or ooze. So, and within my unified energies, openly and harmoniously, I attract and receive absolute holy light and love, and I submit my will and express the beauty and brilliance of oneness, and transform and share God's radiant energy, because God is in me, God is me. I am that I am. Be still and know that I am God. And allow, just like I said, that creative juice, that creative energy, that holistic energy, it's already filling your body. So what you're doing is allowing it to express itself in a creative way. And that's how we can have a little bit of control over some of the process. And you will be surprised what comes out. And even if, okay, so we do this daily, okay, try it for a week. Try it for 3 days if you want to. If a week is too much, I mean, we do have time, but anyway. Try it for 3 days. Try it for a week. I say for a week. But ideally, if you can get through 3 days, then try it for a week. If you can get through a week, then try it for 21 days, because, of course, that makes a habit. But what you're doing is also strengthening that spiritual download, because that's what that is. It's a spiritual download. So yes, and it's very enriching and rewarding. It also helps though with mental health. It helps with your physical health. I can't speak enough about meditating, moments of silence, affirmations, praying, prayer groups, even study groups or book clubs. Okay, you have a book club. So, now's a good time. Select some material that will feed your soul, and then you'll be surprised what kind of conversations and concepts and enlightenment and perspectives you will be introduced to. It's a sharing process. It's a giving and a taking. Taking is receiving. Giving is sharing. And both are equally important. You can't give unless someone receives. And someone can't receive unless something is given. And that's the law of gender. Expression, reception, transformation, manifestation. The law of gender. There is an expressed energy and there is a receiving container, which is also energy, a receiving energy. Okay. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, what in the world is going on? Excuse me. Change is what in the world is going on, or change is what is going on in the world. So, I wish no harm or ill will to anyone or anything. But as spiritual beings, energetic beings, death and decay are a part of the life cycle or recycle. Okay? Let's perceive life differently. We are spiritual beings having physical experiences for the enrichment of our soul. So it's not the end of our world. We have an opportunity. The world is at a standstill. We have the opportunity through our collective consciousness to shape a new world, to form a world that is inviting, that is welcoming, that exercises and encourages imagination, cooperation, creativity, and sharing. So, and as we grow in this direction, our advances in life will be harmonious with nature. Okay? That's the new world order that I see. One that we shape through our collective consciousness for the betterment of all mankind. We may not be able to control what comes may, what life throws our way, what our experiences are, but we can control how we perceive it and respond to it. What we learn from it and the opportunities that we seize from it. Thank you for listening. The word, encourage your friends. If there's a topic that you want discussed, feel free to email me at 1ONE4 all ALLisLove LOVE 14ALLisLove@gmail.com. I will be happy to explore any subject matter. And also support our work at Cash App, One4ALLisLove. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Once again, I am grateful. I am appreciative. Stay safe. There's nothing to fear. Know thyself. Be strong. And let's contribute to the collective consciousness. All right, got to go. Bye.